I want to extend a huge welcome to all of you that are here and that are coming in. Such a pleasure to be with you here this evening to celebrate community engagement. I believe communities are the center, the building blocks of our health and wealth as a nation and as a country. And so it's such a pleasure to be here celebrating that with you. I'm going to pray with you as we begin tonight. Would you mind standing with me as we say a quick word of prayer? Let's bow our heads as we pray for God to be with us this evening. Heavenly Father, God, we want to first of all thank you so much for the gift that you have given us to be social beings. God, you have blessed us with a natural instinct to relate to one another and to live together, oh God, and to build what we call communities. We want to thank you, God, that communities were not our idea, but your idea for how we should exist in relationship to one another. And so, God, as we celebrate the ways that we are engaging with the community, as we look at how we can do that better, oh God, and in deeper and more intentional ways, God, I'm praying that your Spirit be with us, knowing that you have been the initiator of this concept of relating to one another intimately and consistently, oh God. We're praying that you would grant us wisdom and that you would also just be with us, oh God, celebrating what you have brought about. God, I pray for every world changer in this room. I pray, oh God, that you would just continue to fill us with your Spirit and that you would just give us, oh God, more of you so that we can do better community more consistently. God, we thank you so much for what you've already done in our lives and for all that you will continue to do through us as we avail ourselves to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen. You may be seated. The program will continue unannounced.
Thank you very much, Brandon. And I want to welcome you to this evening's celebration of community engagement. To those of you who are here physically with us in this space, to those who are watching online, and to those who after the fact might view this at your own leisure, at your own pace, thank you for being part of this evening's celebration. You know, broadly speaking, we can put universities into two categories. Broadly speaking, two categories. There are those universities that might live in the ivory towers. They do research for the sake of doing research, because for them, research is an end in itself. Their research do not have any meaningful application to life, to communities. They live apart from where the everyday people live. That's one group. In the past, we refer to those as those who live in the ivory towers. And then you have a second group of universities that sort of live among the people. They do research that's different. They do applied research. It's different. They inform practice. They impact lives. They try to have meaningful contributions in society. And we want to believe that's who we are at Andrews, that we are an engaged university, engaged in the lives of others. And that's the reason, that's the impetus behind this community engagement emphasis. We want to have presence, we want to have relevance, we want to have impact in the lives of those in our community and beyond. And as you walk through this afternoon, through the hallway, and looked at the different posters, you saw evidence of Andrews impacting his local community. And for that, we're grateful. We're grateful that we have that level of presence. And so for the next hour or so, we'll be talking about why that kind of work is important, not just to Andrews, but to universities like ours. One of the persons who's going to speak to us about that kind of impact is Mr. Derek Lee. He currently serves as the executive director of our Church in North America Adventist Community Services Center. It's a broad range of expertise, a broad range of work. He worked, for example, at Prince George County in Maryland, in the fire and EMS department. And I said to him recently, he said that he retired from that department in 2011 after 20.5 years of service. And my question to him was, how could a person who is 21 work for 20.5 years of service? Because he looks as though he's 21, so I don't know what the secret is. He has used his background in public safety to really have real rich and meaningful impact on communities. He led the largest Muslim organization in the United States, Islamic Relief USA. But one of the things that really impressed me most about his bio, he's serving on the Emotional and Spiritual Care Committee to provide emotional and spiritual support in the communities around him. Well qualified, impacting lives, but not simply impacting lives socially, but spiritually and emotionally as well. Thank you, Derek, for doing that. And so this evening, this is his return to Andrews after many years. He's been here before. Let him feel the Andrews warmth and presence and welcome. So he won't stay with so long in the future. He'll come back maybe next week and the following week and the following week. And before you know it, he lives here permanently. Please help me welcome to speak to us this evening, Mr. Derek Lee. Give him a warm Andrews welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to you. Let's see, there we go. As was mentioned, I serve as the executive director of Adventist Community Services. And what I want to say as a backdrop is our mission statement, serving communities in Christ's name. So everything that you hear me talking about, I want you to understand that that is the foundation of what we are doing at Adventist Community Services. And I can tell you that we are doing things all over what we call the North American Division. Now, as you may or may not know, the North American Division is made up of the United States, Canada, Guam, the Micronesian Islands, and also Bermuda. I'm not sure how those entities all got thrown together, but that is what makes up the North American Division. And when something takes place within any of those areas that I just mentioned to you, it is the responsibility of Adventist Community Services to have some type of response to the particular challenge that the community is going through. And as you may know, over the last 18 months, all of us have been going through quite a challenge. From New York City to Bozeman, Montana, to Tallahassee, Florida, every community that is out there is going through some level of challenge. And then, of course, you throw on top of the COVID environment that we're all working in, living in, working in, worshiping in, you throw the natural disasters that occur on a periodic basis. Just last week, I was in Louisiana. They're still recovering from Hurricane Ida, attempting to recover from Hurricane Ida. And we were there helping some of those communities that are still challenged from some of the events of a month ago now. They're still trying to recover from that. And it is Adventist Community Services' role and responsibility representing the Seventh-day Adventist Church in communities all over the North American Division. And that's what we attempt to do. And yes, it is a challenge. And I represent Adventist Community Services. I'm out of headquarters in Columbia, Maryland. But I'll be honest with you, if we didn't have the local individuals that were there connecting with their local communities, there would be nothing we could do. And so that's the challenge that we have. That's the challenge that each of you has when you leave here and go back to those communities where you are, connecting with individuals in your community. And I mean both inside the church and outside of the church. That's important, and that's part of our responsibility, it seems to me. I'm going to show you some of the things that Adventist Community Services has done, and you're probably going to have to help me out because, as I thought, it's not advancing. So if you could advance it for me. There we go. All right. You can see here, and what I want you to note about this is work that has taken place over the last year during this situation that we have all found ourselves in. So, as an example, this right here, this is just a picture of Adventist Community Services serving in one of those Micronesian islands. Over, if you've heard of Guam, it's west of there. And one of the little islands there called Saipan, they got hit by a devastating storm. And it was Adventist Community Services on the ground there that assisted them in recovery. That's a local team that's doing that work. Yes, they have the support of the home office, the headquarters, but it's really those people out on the ground that get the work done on a continuous basis, inside and outside of disaster. Go ahead and advance that if you would for me. Go ahead and play that. All right. Well, you may not be able to hear it, but I'll just let you know what's happening there. That's New York City. That's New York City. If you recall, they were center of everything that was going on, if you remember, some months ago. This is when that was taking place. And during the middle of that, we had over 150 food pantries in the city, in New York City. And because we had 150 food pantries there was a group called Second Harvest that saw the work that we were doing, and they said, you know what? We love what you all are doing, how you're connected to the community. What we're going to do is every Monday, we're going to deliver a tractor trailer load, 18-wheeler tractor trailer load worth of food that you are going to have the opportunity to get out directly to those that are experiencing hunger. And that's what we did for 9 straight months. Every Monday, except for holidays, every Monday, we got deliveries of food that we pushed out to the community there. And I will tell you, some of the food pantries that were opening up, the lines would go down the street 2 and 3 blocks long, people waiting for the food that we were able to bring there. Remember what I said the foundation of everything we do is? Serving communities in Christ's name. That's our foundation. And we hope that when people see us doing things like this, they don't necessarily think about, oh, what great people those are. But they think, why are they doing that? And if they ask us that question, we'll certainly have that conversation with them. That's what Adventist Community Services is doing around. You can go ahead and advance that if you would. You can see these are just some of the sheer statistical numbers of what has been happening over the last 12 months within the North American Division. Yes, financial support is necessary for this type of work to happen. And we take that financial support and get it out on the ground to the individuals that have needs, both inside and outside disasters. Community services is our focus with Adventist Community Services. Go ahead and advance that if you would. You can see here over $5 million has been spent through Adventist Community Services, and it goes directly to our teams on the ground that are serving communities locally. Okay? Go ahead and advance that if you will. I have this slide and I'm going to end with this for you. The reason I wanted to show you this is just a small example of the partners that we have worked with just over the last 12 months. I want you to note some of those entities because a number of these entities were very, very crucial in what we were doing. For instance, Uber Freight heard about all the work that we had been doing over the last year. And if you have tried to order anything, you know that transportation costs have gone through the roof. Well, Uber Transportation reached out to us and they said, you know what, we want to be supportive of the work that you're doing out there. And you know what they did for us? They gave us free transportation of food, of clothing that we got to various ACS centers. They did that for free during the height of the costs being where they were. That's an incredible thing. And so I like to say to people, look, we can't do all this by ourselves. And so you know what we have to do? We have to partner up with others. And because some of them have heard about some of the work that we're involved in, some of the people that we are helping, they come together. And through that synergy, we're able to do much more than we could do by ourselves. And so when you look at those partners, I tell them all the time when they partner with us, I try to publicize them as much as I can because they are enabling us to be a real force within the communities that we serve. Again, I want to be clear. Yes, I represent headquarters. I happen to be the lead out of the North American division, but understand, I can do nothing but for the people on the ground that are reaching out within their local communities, making those connections happen so that when we need to get out there in the communities, we're able to do so because of those local experts in all of those communities. So again, the challenge you have is you're going to leave Andrews at some point. And when you do, you're going to go to a local community, your local community. And what we ask is become a part of that local community. Become a part that connects with others that are in that community so that when you link back up with Adventist Community Services, we can use your expertise to serve communities in Christ's name. And thank you very much. Appreciate that.
This is my Father's world, and to my listening ears, all nature sings, and round me rings the music of the spheres. This is my Father's world. I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas. His hand the wonders wrought. Is my Father's world, the birds their carols raise, the morning light, the lily white, declare their Maker's praise. This is my Father's world. He shines in all that's fair. In the rustling grass I hear him pass. He speaks to me everywhere. let the earth be glad.
Urban Design Studio is a course that helps us to prepare architecture students for working at the community scale. And what that means is that architecture students are asked to work with real people in real communities in order to use their design talents and their problem-solving talents in order to uplift people, in order to really serve and help people. We were blessed this year to work in Buchanan, Michigan. We were originally planning on going overseas and helping another community there, but COVID got in the way of that. And so literally the same day that I found out that we weren't going to be going overseas, I received a message from Buchanan, from the economic development director there, asking us whether we'd be ever interested in working in Buchanan.
He answered the phone and he said, "We may have a project." Andrew and I quickly talked about it and how cool it would be for the class to kind of come down the road and study a great American small town who's trying to find a comeback story for itself, who has a history of lost industry but some amazing assets, and trying to really look for a vision for Buchanan. A small town kind of asking big questions. You know, how can Buchanan be a better place?
And it's just down the road. It's a local community. It's a classic small town, Midwestern Rust Belt city. Beautiful architecture, historic fabric, but also a rough past. Over 1,000 years ago, you already had Potawatomi people living on the banks of the St. Joseph River, thriving there. And of course, their land was taken from them. Later, you have a beautiful early mill town that's built in the 1800s. We have all this amazing historic architecture and authentic environment from that time period. At the same time, now you've had a history of disinvestment. Clark Industries used to be in the community, employed many people, and then, around the 1980s, they left. They had large African American neighborhood that suddenly was disinvested and has now also been neglected over many years. You have a downtown that was really built for a time of prosperity that's now a little bit beat up and not always taken care of. So we were asked to help. And so the way that we can help as architects and as urban designers is to look at land and reimagine it. The School of Architecture and Interior Design at Andrews University was blessed to be asked to step in and assist, to use our God-given talents to uplift people and to make a difference.
In the past, Buchanan has lost the major industries that sustain the town. And in recent years, people had some mistrust with the city administration. And I believe that the drawings that has been produced by the design team from Andrews University can ultimately help cast a better vision for future Buchanan.
It was really exciting to me, feeling the energy of the community, how energized they were about the design. They were really showing these people are ready to do these things and work on their community. I'm going to be graduating soon. I'm going to be working in a community, and this project is really similar to what I'll be doing. And I'll be designing houses similar to what we did for some of the stuff in our project. So I feel that this process has really helped prepare me for that.
The north side of Buchanan, which has been historically a black neighborhood, I believe engaging with them, just including them in the meetings, really went a long way and made a big impact with them. In the past, they've been kind of neglected and they expressed that they didn't feel included. So I think that alone really made a difference, as well with the Pokagon Band. You know, there's just history of not really collaborating with them and just neglecting the history in Buchanan. So I think that was really important.
The team projects here at the School of Architecture is very essential for my growth as an architect. It allows me to encounter different personalities and find a way to work with them so that we could complete singular projects together. Through this project, we were able to cast a vision of hope and love to the city of Buchanan.
Well, my name is Sean Dennison. I'm the mayor of Buchanan. And, you know, the city's been kind of desperate, really, to take the next step and move forward. Everybody loves this town, and no one really wants to see it change. But at the same time, there's things that we need to do to make it better. You know, one of the topics that the students thought of was the middle housing, and that's really huge, and that's something we really need in order to keep our town thriving. You know, industry's finally picking up, but there's nowhere for the employees to live once they get jobs here. So I'm really keen on that. I think that's a great idea and something we need to build on. But I also think that the package that you put together is a great tool for the city to use, you know, to get interest from developers and investors. And it's so persuasive. The renderings that you did are so persuasive as a sales tool to show people what's possible. So I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with the work you guys did.
I know from history that wherever these kids go, good things happen in the development world. And I also know that developers follow your work. And so when you can present these concepts in a professional manner and in a compelling way, using the latest technology and your best practices, that gives me a tool to kind of break open the market for Buchanan. And I already know that there's developers that are coming to our event tonight. I already know that there's developers that will be interested in your next chapter of that comes out of your design studio. And quite simply, where you guys go, development happens. And I believe in Buchanan. And I think if you can agree with me that in my young career here, one of my best decisions so far is to invest in that tent.
Good evening, everyone. We do have a vision for you tonight, and what a vision it is. I couldn't be more pleased to introduce to you fantastic visions for what Buchanan already is, but also can become.
So when you think about architecture, architecture is also about community building. And so we invite you to join us here at the School of Architecture and Interior Design to make a difference in people's lives and in their communities.
My class is the best class ever. Buchanan was super cool. I've never been 5 years here till this semester, and it's like a hidden gem. Go Buchanan! Yeah.
Hi, I'm Marianne Cordas, and I am the current president of the Berrien Springs Garden Club. The club has been in existence in this community since 1953, and we're really happy to cultivate both plants and interactions amongst our community members. Tonight we took a tour of Nick Housted's garden, where he has implemented in a very short amount of time some principles of permaculture, so just trying to use plants in a way that really benefit each other and that pack a lot of power into a small space. So mix of vegetables, mix of flowers, mix of herbs, and things that are edible. Over the years, the Garden Club has participated with different community organizations. We try to program 10 to 12 events in a year where we do a variety of things. So sometimes we'll focus on a craft that will use natural materials. So a few years ago we did wreath workshop. We've done some soap workshops with natural oils, things like that. So just trying to bring people together who are nuts about plants or who want to learn more. I think sometimes there's an idea that garden clubs are like, oh, it's the super gardeners. And I don't want people to be afraid of that. We're all learning. Gardening is a continual experiment. And it's the joy of trying and trying together. It's just been a really great experience. So I hope that you might consider joining us at some point too.
Hello, my name is Dr. Ron Coffin, and I'm the director of the Andrews Community Counseling Center. The Andrews Community Counseling Center was opened in 1989 under Dr. Rick Kaczynski's direction. The center was established to provide training opportunities for graduate students in the areas of counseling and assessment, and to serve the mental health needs of the community, primarily individuals who would not otherwise be able to pay for or access mental health services, because our services are offered at no charge to clients in the community. Our motto is serving the community with compassion and care. Our mission is to provide graduate psychology students the opportunity to serve the mental health needs of the community by providing free psychological services under the supervision of professionals. By serving the community surrounding Andrews University, we seek to change the world around us by collaboratively improving the lives of those in our community. We affirm our faith in God by applying the knowledge we seek through scholarly endeavors with the compassion and care modeled by Christ. We provide services to children, usually ages 6 or more, adolescents, adults, and elders. We provide individual, couples, and family counseling. We offer a variety of services for a variety of concerns, including academic problems, behavioral problems, social skills problems, bullying problems, both to victims and perpetrators, parent-child conflict, depression, anxiety, personal growth, relationship or marital issues, stress management, personality concerns, grief, adjustment issues, career issues, sleep problems, processing of traumatic events, self-esteem related concerns, and other concerns. But we are not able to serve walk-ins. We are not a crisis center. Last school year, counselors at the Andrews Community Counseling Center served 125 clients, and we provided over 1,000 sessions for more than 900 hours total of therapy services at no charge to our community. Of the 125 clients, 14 were children and adolescents, so about 10% were under the age of 18. We provided services to 6 couples, total of 12 clients. We provided services to 29 individuals who were experiencing anxiety, to 19 who had relational concerns, to 13 who had educational or occupational concerns, 13 who had trauma or stressor-related experiences, and others had concerns ranging from ADHD to eating irregularities, autism, bipolar, self-regulation difficulties, personality challenges, and other issues. Our contact information is 269-471-6238, where you can leave a confidential message or set up an appointment. Or you can find more information about the Andrews Community Counseling Center at www.andrews.org. andrews.edu/counseling, COUNSELING.
I am a sophomore at the School of Nursing at Andrews University, and we're here at the resource fair. We're taking blood pressure today on just any individual that wants to come get it checked. It's been a great experience so far. We get to meet new people, but also help them and get that help in check as well. And it's been super fun.
Hi, I'm Tanya, nursing instructor at Andrews, and we're here at the Berrien County Michigan Works Amnesty Day event, and we're doing blood pressure screenings and some glucose screenings on some of the visitors here and educating about high blood pressure and signs of diabetes.
Sophomore too. Hi, I'm a sophomore at Andrews University. It's my first year doing this.
I'm Esmond.
I'm Lily. I'm Jasmine. I'm Malika. And we're sophomores at Andrews University School of Nursing. And we're here at Michigan Works taking blood pressure and blood glucose levels.
Takes a little bit to get used to.
I like it, but I'm with her, so. But the people's here and they seem to be enjoying it, so that's what counts.
I am Dr. Upala, Chair of the School of Population Health, Nutrition and Wellness. I have also been serving on the Benton Harbor Water Outreach Task Force and Water Council for the past 2 years. Residents of Benton Harbor have been drinking water contaminated with lead for the past 3 years. Lead can cause damage in the brain of children. It can also cause mental retardation. In adults, it deposits in the bones and replaces calcium. Lead can also cause many health hazards. Last month, Governor of Michigan, Whit Marsh, set aside $20 million to replace the water servicing pipes in the city of Benton Harbor, which are about 100 years old. The main source of lead contamination is from the water service pipes. Last week, all of the drinking water system has been shut off for the residents of Benton Harbor, and they are supplied with bottled waters. And so Andrews University has joined with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy to supply cases of bottled water to residents.
Look at these world changers. One by one they come. World changers, changing the world. Look at this. This is what a world changer looks like. And our fearless leader. Talk to him about it. Andy, it's so good to be here with you. I'm so excited to be doing this work with you. Can you tell me just a little bit about what we've done today and a little bit about what you do in your work with people?
Yeah. So what we've done here today, we are working hard to provide Benton Harbor residents access to bottled drinking water for a period of time in response to some lead action level exceedances they've had in their water. So we're working hard with the senior services, with local churches, with the Community Action Agency, and volunteers from places like Andrews University to get water into the community and get it into people's hands. And tonight we dropped 100 cases of water off at Senior Services, which the staff and volunteers here tomorrow will be distributing to services to seniors. A lot of the access to water is at drive-up places where people put cases in their cars, but we can't forget about people who don't have access to transportation, aren't physically able to go places like this. This is one key piece of that is awesome. Thank you so much. This is a phenomenal experience. I'm so excited about the work we're doing here in the community. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, take care. Awesome, awesome. Awesome, high five. High five, man.
Hi, I'm Dr. Desiree Davis from the School of Social Work here at Andrews University. In September, some of our social work students joined the Berean Seventh-day Adventist Church for our community outreach, which we do once a month, and you will hear the students tell their experience now.
Hi everyone, my name is Macy, and I'm Patrice, and we're here with the social work department from Andrews University, and we're at the Washington Park Homes. We're doing an outreach for the community members here, and what we're doing as a department is we're trying to reach out to kids and teach them coping strategies and resilience, and through different activities. Yes. And so the activity that I lit out on was our balloon activity. So basically, I told them a story that usually the person was feeling upset, so they blow into the balloon. And afterwards, at the end, the person was really upset, and so they just saw the balloon go all over the place and get really mad. And we told the story again, and we told them how they can instead have a support system with their friends, family members, with God, and just to not get upset too quickly, just how to cope.
Awesome. And then anything you want to share about how this personally impacted you or anything like that, you can share that too.
I thought it was really cool to see just interacting with the kids, and we also talked about emotions and how they identify their emotions and work through those emotions. So them opening up like very, very easily and like sharing their experiences and like being able to like work through their feelings and being able to participate in like also learning new activities like deep breathing exercises and stuff like that was really fun.
social work actually did, because we were asked to come here in collaboration also with the Trauma Center, of course, is to teach those kids in this very unprecedented time coping skills. And it was super exciting to be present, to be seeing them eager, also already very aware. That was actually, I think, what I got most out of it. I was very surprised about their ability to share that already, to name feelings, and then us just adding on to what they already have, I think is awesome. And being able to say, like, hey, you know, deep breathing really helps. So yeah, that was really what I loved about it.
In addition to what Sarah said, a lot of kids found things that they didn't really know that they did to cope with themselves. Like, even I was talking to this girl, she was like, "Oh yeah, sometimes I read books actually to de-stress and stuff." And so I was able to really figure out that point. And some other boys, they shared that they use basketball.
As little children, we will dream of Christmas morn, and all the gifts and toys we knew we found. But we never realized a baby born on blessed night gave us the greatest gift of our lives. We are the reason that He gave His life. We are the reason that He suffered and died. To the world that was lost, He gave all He could give to show us the reason to live.
As the years went by, we learned more about gifts, the giving of ourselves, and what that means. On a dark and cloudy day, a man hung crying in the rain because of love, because of love. We are the reason that He gave His life. We are the reason that He suffered and died. To the world that was lost, He gave all He could give to show us the reason to live. I finally found a reason for living. It's in giving every part of my heart to Him. In all that I do, every word that I say, I will give in my heart just for Him, for Him. We are the reason that He gave His life. We are the reason that He suffered and died. To the world that was lost, He gave all He could give to show us the reason to live. He is my reason to live.
to live, to live, to live, to live. Here's the reason to live.
Desmond Hartwell Murray was born on Mole Day, October 23rd, a long time ago, on an enchanted, multicultural, multiracial, multireligious, post-colonial, pre-independence Caribbean island. In a time long, long ago, before COVID, before Zoom, before World Changers, before Change Day, a chemistry professor synthesized public science in the labs and classrooms and offices and hallways of Hallin's Hall, in the science building on the campuses of Andrews University. Education beyond the classroom, learners without borders, learning without walls. He used old school media, newspaper and radio and email. Then with the advent of YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, he expanded public science from local to global. He sought to live by the Native American proverb, "Those that tell the stories rule the world." Yes, world domination, like his favorite James Bond villains. The world was now at his fingertips and in the playground of his imagination. He learned the principle and practice of community and engagement from his Caribbean parents. His mom is from Grenada, the Isle of Spice, and his dad is from Tobago, of Robinson Crusoe fame. Their lifelong ministry always centered on engaging others and the community in practical and essential ways. Professor Murray's community engagement, what he sometimes calls public science, is multiple and was made possible through his 20-plus year partnership with Princella Tobias and Benton Spirit Community Newspaper. For example, students in Murray's class were required and given extra credit for writing short articles that were published in the Benton Spirit. These are two specific examples of engaging the community through print media. He uses YouTube frequently to post chemical and environmental themed lectures and creates playlists that are topical, relevant, and connects with the community. They all are course space and open the classroom for community engagement. For example, past lectures have focused on CBD, COVID-19, Ebola, the Gulf oil spill, the Flint water fiasco, gold mining in the Rockies, alternative energy, systemic racism, waterborne pathogens, air pollutions, and medicinal plants. A great example of this approach was the chemistry seminar class lecture by Dr. Kazmika Corbett, co-inventor of the Moderna mRNA vaccine against coronavirus. As of today, it has gathered 6,789 views. Professor Murray also requires students in his research courses to develop short videos, about 2 minutes long, that share their research in an accessible way with the public. These can be viewed in his early research YouTube playlists. Professor Murray has also created Facebook groups that complement his lecture series and early research initiatives. You too can intentionally transform your courses with elements of community engagement that organically emerge from your discipline and model for students how to change the world one discipline at a time.
The Herbie Clinic gives students the opportunity to interact with patients during our first and second year, where most of our time is spent studying for classes. It is a great way to refocus from a student perspective to a clinician's perspective, where we're able to learn how our classroom experiences apply to the real world.
Herbie Clinic is held once a month at a church in Niles, and
There's a bunch of physical therapists, doctors, nurses that come together from the local community and serve the local community. So the patients come in and they kind of go through the process of talking to the doctor, physical therapy if needed, the pharmacy as well. And it's just a great way for students like myself to get involved, to meet people in the community, and increase my skill in the clinic, and learn some people skills as well. So it's something that I really enjoyed, and I always look forward to each semester.
I enjoyed getting to help the patients at the Parkinson's Clinic. It was a very rewarding experience to not only be able to help them through a series of exercises, but also to hear each of their stories and how Parkinson's has affected their lives, whether big or small, as well as the obstacles that they've had to overcome. It helps us as future physical therapists to know more about the condition and be better clinicians while giving the patients a change of pace and individual attention compared to their usual group setting in class.
Working with the Parkinson's patients and other classmates in the exercise class has been a great experience. Their outlook on their diagnosis and quality of life has been both encouraging and motivating. It allows a real-life view of the way Parkinson's impacts everyone differently and the limits that they experience on a daily basis. Having our students in the class allows the participants to get up and move around rather than stay in their chairs, and all their activities are able to practice, and it's just beneficial for us both.
I need to turn it on. Now we're on. Hello, Ingrid Slickers. I am a professor in the School of Social Work, and we are here to talk about the International Center for Trauma Education and Care. And I have well, go ahead and introduce yourself, Hope.
I am Hope Malabrigo, and I am a BSW intern.
That's right. That's right. So 2 years ago, we stood here and had the privilege of sharing with you some of our international experiences where we had been invited as a team to go overseas to share the message of understanding trauma and what are some things we can do to heal from that. And then COVID happened, and we weren't sure what was going to happen with our center. And that's why we titled this Unexpected Reach, because shortly after that, as we became aware of Zoom and its functions, strange things started to happen. In the summer, we were supposed to have gone to Bangkok, and we were encouraged to host it via Zoom. So we held our training, and within that training, we had individuals that joined us from over 8 countries. And from there, it just continued. Month after month, the requests came in via Zoom. And as to date, over these last 2 years, we've been able to reach over 5,000 screens where we have been able to spread the information that we're so wanting to share without even leaving the community. Now, Hope is our newest intern. She has been with us for about 2 months. Yes. And she had the privilege of joining me on a training when we trained the Canadian Union educators. So this is all of Canada and all their educators. Now, Hope, tell us about that.
So I am Canadian. I actually came from a school in Canada called Kingsway College, and it is our academy. And so I attended there from 11th and 12th grade, and it was a very, very good experience. Mind you, this was also my first time hosting, or not hosting, but joining a training education, a training course. And so I was very, very scared. And then all these people started popping up on Zoom. And one by one, I noticed that my old principal was there, a couple of my old professors, and it was just very, very interesting. I was scared because I was like, oh my goodness, they're going to see what I'm doing. But, you know, they started chatting on Zoom. And just throughout the whole experience, it was very nice to see that a lot of the educators in Canada were very open to having the conversation. You know, attending the school, we never had conversations about trauma. And I think that's one thing that led me to social work, is that understanding that a lot of people go through different things. And sometimes we don't see that. You know, as teachers or educators, you get to hang out, or not even hang out, but get to interact with the students for a lot of the hour of the days, right? So it's important. I see that it's very important that teachers are aware of the trauma that their students can go through. And so being able to see that this conversation is happening at our conference in Canada was like a blessing to me.
It was beautiful to watch it full circle. She was now teaching her teachers. You can fast forward with slides, but yes, unexpected reach. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are we on? Yes. It is my privilege to introduce a colleague and a friend who is going to be doing the keynote for this evening. I'm first going to read the formal description that you can read along with me if you wish in your program. Rachel Wade's purpose is to demystify systems and inspire people to be intentional about changing them. She fulfills this professionally by serving as the Vice President of Strategy, such a great title, at the United Way of Southwest Michigan. She also lives it out by serving her community as the Secretary of the Board of Education for Lakeshore Public Schools, the Chair of the Administrative Council at Stevensville United Methodist Church, and a board member for Living Beyond Hope. In addition, she serves on several local, regional, and state committees. Rachel holds a master's degree in administration from Central Michigan University and a bachelor's degree in public relations from Western Michigan University. A lifelong resident of Michigan, Rachel lives in Stevensville with her husband and their 2 sons. The informal part of this that I want to just say a couple of quick words is that I have worked with Rachel over at the United Way for 12 years now, since 2009, doing evaluation projects of a variety of different kinds of evaluation projects. But the cool thing about Rachel is that she also agreed to participate in my class doing advanced program evaluation since 2010. 11 years, if you multiply approximately 20 to 25 students per year, 220 students have been trained in how to do evaluation in real-world agencies within our community. And Rachel has been key to making sure that that happens. We've also been able to evaluate approximately, I haven't counted them all specifically, but if we do about 6 project evaluations a year, about 66 programs have been evaluated for this community. And again, Rachel has been right at the center of that, coming to our class regularly, helping to critique students, and it's been a really a great collaboration. So over the years, as you can imagine, 13 years, 12 years, she's become a friend as well. And so on the personal level, I think that she is smart, funny, dedicated, deeply committed to creating community change, and it is my pleasure to introduce her right after the song that comes after my introduction.
There's a voice that cries out in the shadows. He's searching for a heart that will love him. He's longing for a child that will give him their all, give it all. He wants it all. And so there's a God that walks over the earth. He's searching for a heart that is desperate. He's longing for a child that will give him their all, give it all. He wants it all. And he says, love me with your whole heart. He wants it all today. Serve me with your life now. He wants it all today. Bow down, let go of your idols. He wants it all today. He wants it all today. He wants it all today. So give it all. See, there's a God that walks over the earth. He's searching for a heart that is desperate. He's longing for a child that will give him their all, give it all. He wants it all. And he said, love me with your whole heart. He wants it all today. Serve me with your life now. He wants it all today. Bow down, let go of your idols. He wants it all today. He wants it all today. He wants it all today. So give it all. He loves us. Oh, how he loves us. Oh, how he loves us. Oh, how he loves. He loves us. Oh, how he loves us. Oh, how he loves us. Oh, how he loves. He loves. He loves us. Oh, how he loves us. Oh, how he loves us. Oh, how he loves. There's a voice. There's a voice that cries out in the silence. He's searching for a heart that will love him. He's longing for a child that will give him their all, give it all. He wants it all. Amen.
Okay, that's totally not fair to make me have to go after that. I'm just gonna put that out there. All right, you can go to the next slide. This is me, summer of 1997. I joined a group of high school students from my church. We went on a mission trip to South Point, Ohio. We spent the week installing insulation and drywall in a home that was being rebuilt after a devastating flood. Hence the paper overalls, because if you've ever installed fiberglass insulation, if it gets on your skin, it hurts. And I thought it was funny to walk through Lowe's dressed like that, because when you're in high school, you think that's funny. So this was not my first trip of a mission trip. It was actually the fourth that I had been on. But this trip was a little bit different. I had just graduated from high school and would be leaving for college soon with an undecided major and no real vision for who or what I wanted to become. Now, every night during each mission trip I'd been on, we'd have a devotion time before we went to bed. And as was our tradition, the last night of the trip was an especially powerful time when we would sit in a circle with each other and we would each share what we had experienced on the trip, how we had been changed, what we had learned about ourselves, about our teammates, about our relationship with God. And at the end, we would stand in a circle and we would hold hands and take turns praying. So when your turn was done praying, you would squeeze the hand of the person next to you to let them know that it was their turn. So in the middle is my very good friend, Mary. She was one of the adult chaperones on the trip. Mary has had a tremendous impact on my life. She was my confirmation mentor, my youth leader, and really just turned into an all-around second mother. And this woman on the end is Tamra. She was our pastor. And she also played a really important and pivotal role in my spiritual development when I was in high school. So here we are, this last night of our mission trip. We're in our prayer circle, and you know how prayer time is. You close your eyes and bow your head, right? Well, when Pastor Tamra began to pray, my friend Mary says something told her to open her eyes and look up. And as she did, she saw a white light hovering over Tamra's head. And as the prayer went around the circle, the light followed it, growing in intensity until it came time for me to pray. And as Mary explains it, as I started to pray, the white light exploded over my head, and she heard the word seminary in her head as clear as day. When she recounted this story to me the next day, she said there was no doubt in her mind that God was calling me to seminary, to a life of ministry, and that Tamra would help me along that journey. Well, let me tell you, there may have been no doubt in Mary's mind, but there were a ton of them in mine. And from what Kurt said about me in my bio, or maybe what he didn't say, was the word reverend. You didn't hear that in there anywhere. So you can tell between Mary and I which one of us won out, right? Now, becoming a pastor would not have been a stretch for me. My father was a United Methodist pastor, as was his grandfather before him. My mother was a nurse, my sister is a teacher, so I grew up in a family where service wasn't just what we did, it was how we lived our lives. So why did I not follow this path that I was seemingly being called to? The answer is simple. Me. I got in the way. I ignored God's call. Actually, I told myself that I was ignoring it because that made me feel a little bit better than admitting that I was actually saying no to it for my own selfish reasons. See, I believe that God created people to love and be loved. And I also believe that God calls each of us in different ways to live that out. But answering those calls is not easy. Simply having a servant's heart and an openness to being called isn't enough. You also need to be able to discern. Oh, sorry, you can flip to the next slide. That was the key word. See, that's what made me think of it. You also need to be able to discern where God is calling you to serve, personally, professionally, and in the organizations that you're a part of. Now, over the years, I have seen a lot of people and organizations make the same mistake I did. They've gotten in their own way. I've watched people who were unhappy in their jobs take the first opportunity they could to get out, regardless of whether it was a good fit for them or not. I've watched organizations start duplicative programs or engage in some serious mission drift simply to chase after money. None of these situations have ever ended well. When we chase opportunities for our own man-made purposes, we rob ourselves and the community of the glory that could be created if we would follow the path that God has laid out for us. Now, admittedly, sometimes our own selfish pursuits have very good intentions, and charting our own course independent from God doesn't always end in disaster. But doing the wrong thing for the right reason is still the wrong thing. Wrong doesn't necessarily mean bad, but it does mean falling short of what is possible with God. As we've seen and heard tonight, the work of Andrews University is an example of what can happen when an organization seeks to answer God's call. All of the projects that you've heard about this evening, just incredible examples of this. In all of these things, Andrews University is discerning where God is calling and is saying yes time and time again. So if we're to answer the call, how do we discern what the call even is? Now, I've amassed a set of tools that I've learned from other people that I often use to help me when I'm trying to discern where God is calling me. And so that's what I would like to share with you this evening. So, next slide. Number 1, know your purpose. I participated in a book group last year for the book titled Purposeful Hustle by Deanna Singh. The premise of the book is that everything you do, every choice you make, everything you get involved with should be aligned with your life's purpose. That sounds really easy, but the tough question is, how do you figure out what your purpose is? Well, in the book, she gives some really practical steps to use to help you figure that out. So using her methodology, I determined that I believe, to the best of my ability, that my purpose is to demystify systems and inspire people to be intentional about changing them. And in fact, that's exactly what I'm trying to do with all of you this evening. Demystify the system of how to discern God's call. And once you understand that system and how each of us could or should respond to that system, hopefully I can inspire you to be intentional about changing how you work within that system so that it works better for you. You see, when you know your purpose, you can look at every opportunity that comes your way through the lens of that purpose. God created you. He also created your purpose. So I don't think that he would call you to do something that doesn't further that purpose. All right, next slide. Number 2, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Now, we only have a certain number of hours or minutes in each day, and every time you're asked to do something, it stands to reason that you have to say no to something else. So for example, let's say that I am asked to serve on a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee that meets the second Tuesday of every month at 2 o'clock. If I say yes to that, I am in turn saying no to whatever else I would normally be doing with my time every second Tuesday of the month at 2 o'clock. Now that's not inherently a bad thing. My point is we need to understand our capacity. So if United Way says that we'll help coordinate water distribution in Benton Harbor, what work will we stop or put on hold so that we can use our time for that project? If you find that one call is getting in the way of another call, you might need to step back and reassess. Ask yourself or your organization, what are we saying no to if we say yes to something else? Number 3, you can go to the next slide, is somewhat similar, that when you say yes to something, you're taking away someone else's opportunity to say yes to that same thing. So a former member of my church, her name is Pat, she taught me this very important lesson many years ago. I had been asked to lead a Sunday school class, and I really didn't want to, but I'm a people pleaser, so I didn't want to say no because I didn't want to disappoint the person who'd asked me. But Pat rocked my world when she said, "Your yes might be taking away someone else's yes, someone else who really wants to lead that Bible study. Don't rob them of that." Man, that really hit me right between the eyes. And it taught me that not every opportunity is a calling. Saying yes to something that is just an opportunity for you might be taking away the chance for someone else to say yes to something that is actually a calling for them. All right, next slide, number 4. If the thought persists, it's probably from God. I had an idea about 4 years ago. I wanted to pull together a group of women at my church to get together on a Sunday afternoon once a month and make a bunch of freezer meals together. Some of which we could take home and make during the week, some of which we could leave at the church to be delivered to church members who needed that kind of support. Now, anyone who knows me, Kurt can probably tell you this, knows that I'm an idea person. I come up with what I think are like a dozen great ideas on a weekly basis, far more than I could ever execute on. And I remember talking about this in a Bible study I did about 20 years ago. I have so many ideas, how do I know which ones to act on? And one wise woman named Shirley gave me this advice. She said, "You know the ideas that persist, that just keep coming into your mind day after day, week after week? Maybe those are God's ideas trying to break through all of the other noise." So I've held on to that advice ever since, that if the thought persists, that might be from God. All right, next slide. Last tool in my discernment toolkit. The focus should be on the result, not on what you did to achieve it. Now let me explain what I mean by this. A few years ago, a gentleman reached out to us at United Way because he wanted to build a homeless shelter in Niles. He knew it would be a costly endeavor, so he was meeting with us to see if we might be willing to fund it. We asked him to take a few steps back and talk about the data that was driving the project. Had he truly quantified the need? Then we asked him who else he had spoken to about his idea. Had he connected with other homeless shelters in the area or with other organizations who provided housing assistance? Had he spoken with the state agencies that are tasked with addressing homelessness? Had he worked to develop a deep and comprehensive understanding of the situation and the current organizational landscape? How did he know that his organization building a shelter in Niles was the right and best course of action? And he had no answers to any of our questions. He just felt that there needed to be a shelter in Niles, so he was going to create one. And throughout the course of our conversation, I noticed that his emphasis was usually on himself or his organization. He spoke very little about those that he would be serving. And it struck me that his focus was not on the need that needed to be addressed or on creating collaboration or partnership with already existing services. No, his focus was on what he wanted to do to address it. So if we find ourselves falling into that same trap, I would suggest this is not what God is calling us to do. God calls us to serve. Matthew 22 tells us that the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind. And the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. In the book of Mark, we hear that even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. And in 1 Peter, we find these words, that each one should use whatever gift he has received to serve others, faithfully administering God's grace in its various forms. Now, God's grace is just about as selfless as it gets. So if we put ourselves at the center of our endeavors, then maybe we're doing something wrong. I believe a powerful question we can ask ourselves is this: what is more important, that our idea gets executed or that we be the ones to execute it? All right, last slide. So that's my set of my tools to discern God's call. Know your purpose. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. When you say yes to something, you're taking away someone else's opportunity to say yes to it. If the thought persists, it's probably from God. And the focus should be on the result, not on what you did to achieve it. But I must remind you all that clearly I am not God, therefore anything coming from me as a human is going to be imperfect. These tools work for me. Some of them might be helpful to you, others might not. Maybe one of them has given you an idea of a different type of tool that would work better for you. That's awesome. That's how this stuff works, right? God doesn't call us all to do the same things, nor does he call us in the same ways. To answer his call, we first have to discern his call for us both as individuals and as organizations. Now, I would be remiss if I've made it sound that what God calls us to do is always easy, fun, uplifting, or free from peril. We need only read just about every story in the Bible to know that the opposite is often the case, right? You've got Jonah and Moses and Paul. Even Jesus himself was called to do difficult, painful, dangerous things in service to God and fellow man. But you know what else all of those people did? They all tried to get out of it somehow. Yes, even Jesus. Remember these words, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me," right? But he follows it with, "Yet not my will, but yours be done." So I'm going to end this evening the way I started it. 1 year after my friend Mary heard God calling me to a life of ministry, my pastor Tamara invited me to an event with the bishop of our conference of the United Methodist Church, an event geared towards potential candidates for ministry. So I attended the event. I enjoyed it. I was even deeply moved by some parts of it. But remember what I said about my bio. The title of reverend is still nowhere to be found in it. So when that call came a second time, my answer was still no. But God never gives up on us. He didn't give up on Jonah, Moses, Paul, or Jesus, and he won't give up on you or me either. I'm only 42, so maybe seminary isn't yet out of the question. Who knows? Or maybe I'm answering the call to witness and minister and serve just in a different way. Either way, God will never stop calling me, you, United Way, Andrews University, and any other people or organization that exist in this world. He will never stop calling us to serve in the ways in which he created us to. So there's always hope. It's not a one and done kind of deal. The power of discernment will allow us to hear and answer those calls when they come, because God will continue to call each one of us until the day he finally calls us home. Thank you.
Hi, this is Fernando Ortiz, Director of the Master Community Program at Andrews University, and also the Director of the Care for Cuba Initiative, and founder of the same. You know, through the years, we have seen Andrews University being a mission institution. Andrews University is all about missions. I cannot imagine Andrews without the study tours and the mission trips and the hundreds of missionaries that have been sent all around the world. Actually, Andrews would not be Andrews personal and public, how to do conflict resolution, how to win a soul for Christ, how to give a Bible study. And they have been inspired and they have learned how to witness. You know what? We did this for 7 years back to back, but everything came to a screeching halt with COVID-19. And we said, we cannot just stay here. We need to do something. And we decided to send a container, given that we could not go, a container full of resources. And the community came around and gave us so many things that at the moment we had to say, please don't bring any more. The container had lots of clothes, personal hygiene items, 500 boxes with materials for them. It also included almost 100 meal bicycles for pastors and Bible workers. And it also included 1,000 backpacks for the Pathfinders. The idea is to give to each Pathfinder in Cuba a backpack full of resources for them to win one soul for Christ this next coming year. The backpack includes a Bible and Bible studies and a frisbee to do creative evangelism and a t-shirt to identify them. We're asking the Pathfinders to go and win a Pathfinder for Christ. But you know what? There's much more to do. What we have been able to do is only a drop in the bucket. And yet it has been awesome. 50 churches have been blessed by this ministry. And also, we have been able to bring throughout all of these years a number of tablets and computers. Let me just give you the numbers. 50 churches helped. 59 cell phones, 200 flash drives, 156 computers, 183 tablets. All of these electronics had Spanish libraries full of resources and ministry materials. Also, 100 instruments brought guitars, flutes, trumpets, violins, recorders, saxophones. 550 pastors, Bible workers, and volunteers have been equipped to better carry their work. 653 bicycles have been gifted so far to pastors and Bible workers for them to do double or triple the work that they could do now on foot. 800 bags of food has been distributed. And my favorite, 1,827 precious souls have been baptized as a direct result of Andrews University evangelism efforts in Cuba. But the work is not done. There's many more people that do not know about Jesus. Lots of people that believe in the occult and the spiritism that still need to hear. And I wonder, could you help us? Could you pray for this ministry to continue going to Cuba? We're planning to go next March. Would you pray for us? To share careforcuba.org website with your friends. Because if it's not today, then when? Care for Cuba. This is what the Lord does.
Good evening. I am Joel Ravelormis. I'm the Program Director for Community and International Development. So from Cuba, let's travel to Madagascar. Every year we do a project in Madagascar, but because of COVID-19, we were not able to go last year and this year. However, for some unfortunate reason, the south of Madagascar has been hit by drought because of climate change, because of locusts, and as well as the COVID problem. And right now it is estimated that about 1,500,000 people, if no intervention is done by the government and also the international community, these people, the likelihood of them to die is very high, based on the statistics from WFP, World Food Program. So because of this situation, we decided through the program, my program, and Andrews University, to set a goal. It's hard for us to distribute humanitarian aid for this population because the south of Madagascar is very vast. It is from the east to the west of the southern part of the country. So we came up with a project, at least to assist the Seventh-day Adventist members in that region. So since May, we decided to raise funds. The goal was to raise $24,700 in order to provide food for family per week. And that will cost $50 for a family of 4. And by God's grace, as of 2 weeks ago, we have raised $24,750. So we reached our goal. Thank you very much for those who have given also and those who plan to give, because the next step for this project is now we have money to give, to buy food, immediate assistance for them, and the next step is to raise funds to buy seeds and fertilizers, because within a month it is going to be the rainy season, and we hope that when we distribute seeds and fertilizers, these people can have more sustainable way to live and provide for their families. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you, Andrews University. Thank you.
In Africa, children are dying every day because of lack of access to medical care. People go untreated for many days because they're so far from medical services. And here at the School of Architecture and Interior Design, we're building container clinics. We've decided that we would like to step in and make a difference. I got involved with this project as Dean of the School of Architecture and Interior Design. It was my desire to have a hands-on component for our students to be able to put into practice what they're drawing on paper. And so I wrote some grants and was able to get money to build a series of container clinics that will go to underserved area. The first one went to the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is high in the mountains in the Kivu, where there is no medical facilities within 40 miles. And so it serves a very big need. And this one will go to a neighboring village in the same region. As we got funding for this and were able to get the students involved, we found that the students just loved building this because they knew that what they're doing, what they're designing and building, not only serves them in their education, but it serves others in the final result of the project.
So the design process for projects in this studio it's very unique. We call this informally our design build studio. And so students aren't only designing something on paper, but they actually have to build it. And not just build it, but also build it within a fixed budget. So what it does is it forces students to think through a lot of details that might be really easy to just skim over in a typical design project. One example of a part of the project that in a typical studio project might be very easy to just gloss over is the PV system. You might just show a few PV panels and show this is where the equipment goes, but not really have to design anything. And here, not only do you have to size it properly, but you have to get all the components here on time, and then you have to assemble them all. And it ends up being a lot more complex system than you might think it would be initially. So this project and this studio overall really is a good bridge between students in the undergraduate program where the projects really do just stay on paper. And in the graduate studio, now you actually have to be accountable to things beyond that.
During the construction of this project, the students gain a good experience by learning the necessity of measuring carefully. Sometimes they will find that, for example, when you cut out a hole in the wall for the window frame, if they don't cut it accurately, it leaves a tremendous job for the welder to weld the frame back in. And that when they weld it in, it has to be exactly aligned so that the insulation inside will fit. And they also have to be careful when they're gluing the insulation panels in, that the glue is put in the right places so that it doesn't interfere with the wires that have to go in the voids inside the insulation. And so accuracy and thinking ahead are wonderful skills that the students learn when they're working on this project. This clinic is outfitted with state-of-the-art equipment that will make a huge difference in the diagnosis and treatment of this community. The interesting things about this clinic is that it is self-sustaining. That means that it has a solar system, a solar electric system with photovoltaic panels that generate electricity for the operation, for the heating and cooling, and for all of the lights and the instruments that need to be used. And then it has a water system that is self-contained as well, that will allow them to work anytime they need to. And it also has a propane water heater so that they can have hot water for the needs of the clinic. Another feature of the clinic is the air conditioning, and also we have a heater. We want the doctors, nurses, and patients to be comfortable, either when it's too hot or because this is going to be high in the mountains, we need a heater at times for them to be comfortable when it's cold. These features allow the container clinic to be placed anywhere without utility hookups. In the future, I hope that the program will continue building these kinds of projects and even increase the numbers. We now have a beautiful facility that you can see here. To do this in is big enough to do 2 or 3 at the same time. So it is really my hope that we can expand, that the program can continue to be blessed by those who partner with us to build these projects and send them out so that a greater number of people can be served by the Andrews University School of Architecture. This project would not have been possible without the generous support of the Stevens Foundation and Advent Health and others. And we'd like to thank each one for this support, and we would like you to get involved. Join our family here at the School of Architecture and Interior Design and make a difference today.
It's a pleasure for me to be here and to be able to say some thank yous to the people who have participated in tonight's celebration of community engagement. But we want to say a special thank you to our 2 speakers. I think we even have something to present to them. So I'm going to invite our student to come forward, and we want to, doesn't matter which is which, right? Does it? Okay. Does it matter? Yes. Okay, which one goes which way? Do you know? Okay. This is for Rachel. Thank you so much. And I am also the Vice Provost for Graduate Studies, so we have basically a scholarship to our seminary. Whenever you're ready to come, we're ready to receive you, okay? Okay, all right. And Derek, thank you so much. And I will tell you also, I'm Dean of the College of Education. There will be a scholarship to leadership, our leadership department PhD program, whenever you want it.
How about that?
Okay? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I also want to say that if you look at the back of your program, you will see a list of people to say thank you to. I'm not going to mention everyone, but I will say that we want to have special thank you to all of the faculty, the students, the program directors, all of you who have been involved, staff members who have been involved in promoting these projects, and to the students who've been basically at the heart of the projects. We really do appreciate all of your involvement, and I want to say a thank you to people who would have basically behind this tonight, which is Carlisle Sutton and Paulette Johnson, Dean of our libraries. We want to say thank you to both of you. And finally, I have the great honor of presenting the scholarship in recognition for a student who has been very, very active, extraordinarily active in community engagement. Actually, from the moment he came on campus, isn't that right, Carlisle? He has been involved in community engagement. You saw a little bit of him tonight in the water distribution, but I will tell you, it's been my pleasure to work with him as the graduate dean, because he's also president of the Andrews Graduate Student Association. Brandon, please come forward. Brandon Williams. And Rachel, Brandon is a product of our seminary. He's an MDiv student. He's getting ready to graduate. So you can see the quality of our students. Thank you so much, Brandon. You've been engaged from the very beginning, and it's been a pleasure for me to know you and to say thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. May I say a few words? Yes, I just want to say thank you so much. Would you mind putting your hands together again for this incredible board who puts all of this together? I want to say thank you so much to all of you. The work, are you guys inspired? I hope you're inspired. I'm inspired. And the reason, man, I think that this whole symposium, this whole event is just a reminder of how important it is not just to show up and just to be involved in our communities, but to be a part of our communities. This is what it looks like to love our neighbors. And so I want to say that I am in no way, really, I don't think worthy of this. What I do want to say is, if there is something that I can do, I want it to be inspiring other people to be engaged and become a part of their communities. Because I think that's what happens that's when change happens. When we have decided within our own hearts that we are going to use what God has given us and become all that He has called us to be and be a part of our community. So I want to encourage you and inspire you wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever God has called you to, wherever He's placing you, I want you to get involved. It's the little things that will make a world of difference. Thank you so much again. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I don't know that I can really add much to that. Thank you, Brandon. But I do want to say it is such a privilege to be a part of a campus that has intentionally made service a pillar of who we are and why we're here. And every day, I think we see this from our students, we see this from our faculty, from our staff, from our friends, from our community. And it is such a blessing to be able to share the love of Christ in this way with those around us. And so I'd like to ask you to stand for our benediction. And now, as we set forth, we commit ourselves to the merciful protection of God. And we especially ask the prayers of the people of God that His blessing may attend us in this sacred work. Amen.